hungry looking at them.
I tried to. I wonder if you get that a lot. Do you get that a lot?
I hope so.
That could go in a lot of different directions right there. Wilson Ritchie is the most prolific restaurateur in Charlottesville. Good friend of the show, A-plus guy. Creating jobs, creating menus left and right.
Trying, yeah.
Dining experiences.
I was at Cafe Frank and I was ordering lunch or picking up a sandwich, which to me it just reminds me of back in Paris and Europe where you just would walk into they have the pre-made sandwiches.
That's what we're going for, yeah.
And then there's a hole on the floor, and I went look at the hole, and I went, wow, look, there's a hole in the floor. And out pops Wilson Ritchie. I said, dude, you want to go on the show? I said, sure.
Hard to say no at that point.
Doing maintenance, yeah. You're in a hole, yeah. Okay, yeah.
I wasn't letting you out of the hole if I remember correctly.
Judah, we can start the program when you're ready, my friend. Good Tuesday morning, guys. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to Real Talk. Thank you kindly for joining us. We are live in Charlottesville, across Central Virginia, the Commonwealth, the country, and the world on the I Love Seville network. We're presented by Yes Realty Partners. Honest, hardworking Yes Realty Partners will help you navigate the most arduous process in your life, second to marrying your significant other.
And figuring out which Wilson Ritchie restaurant you want to eat.
That's right. The third most difficult decision you will have in your life, especially if you live in Charlottesville, is which of Wilson Ritchie's many restaurants you should visit and enjoy. So Judah Wickower is the director of the show, and we want to wish Judah Wickower a very happy birthday. He and I have spent, is it 9 years or 10 years working alongside each other, J-Dubs? 9 years. It's a love-hate relationship. I love him. I think he may hate me from time to time. But Judah, I really wish you a happy birthday, my friend. Let's go to the studio camera and let's welcome the distinguished gentleman, Keith Smith. Hello.
Hello. It's good to be back. We went up to go visit the grandbabies, and it was a lot of fun. A little bit of fighting on traffic on I-95.
Terrible.
Yeah, it's back. The traffic is back.
Yeah.
It was brutal. It was 6.5 hour drive. It takes 9-10 hours, and it's just brutal. But thank God, sitting to my right, my co-pilot is my better 7/8, and we had a great conversation.
Yona Smith, we love you on the show, Yona. Judah, Wilson Ritchie on camera, please, if you could. Good morning, Wilson. How are you?
Good. Yeah. How's it going?
It's going great. Thanks for coming on the program. For the few that do not know who you are, maybe an introduction to Wilson Ritchie and some of the beloved restaurants that you manage in them.
Yeah, well, the staples are revolutionary soup and the whiskey jar, and I'm partner in the Bebedero. Mm-hmm. And then, I've opened and sold some over the years here in town. And this year we opened the Milkman's Bar first, then Cafe Frank downtown, and then South and Central Steakhouse and Latin Grill.
So that's 3.
So 3 this year.
In the middle of...
Yeah, well, right at the tail end of COVID, which arguably was harder than being in COVID.
Totally.
Because in COVID, you had rules, and you knew what you were doing. It wasn't great, but you knew what you were doing. Out of COVID, you know what you're doing. Right at the tail end was hard, because it was like...
It's the Wild West.
Yeah, do we put all the seats out? Do we put some of the seats out? It was like, it was really difficult to do it right at the transition.
That's kind of what we wanted to talk about. At least that's what I wanted to talk about, is this whole transition from COVID, this middle space that you just was talking about, and where we are today, and then maybe where we're going. In our pre-production meeting, we were talking a little bit that, in the real estate space, people that are moving here, and we're the second, 2020, right?
2020.
Was the second location in the nation for retirees to come from.
Wow.
Second most popular.
Interesting.
Second most popular. Thank you. Third was actually Harrisonburg. Waynesboro. Thank you. I'll get this right. Yeah. I'm still on I-95. But the 3 top questions that we typically get is usually they're coming here wrapped around UVA.
Yeah.
great medical services, education, so forth and so on. The second is always comes up is the foodie, is the dining experiences here, which is what this
That's
is your,
awesome.
Yeah, this
That's
dude
great.
leads the charge on there,
This is
and he's
your-
going to deflect that comment, but he leads the charge.
well, he shouldn't deflect it.
No.
And thirdly is the outdoors, going hiking, biking, wine tours and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
That all makes sense.
why is that? Why is Charlottesville? This is like a big opening question. Why is Charlottesville such a mecca for food? Why is it?
That's a good question.
Yeah, it's a good question. Because I do think we have an extraordinary food scene here. I mean, I think, there's been points over the last however many years I've been here where people have said we are in the top, 3 restaurants per capita in the nation.
Sure.
I've
I think
heard
it's
that over
14
and
now.
over. Or 14 now.
Yeah, it's 14 now.
But it's nuts for a small town like this to have so many, and so many good ones. And I've thought about it a little bit. I think the university has been central to attracting a lot of people to town over the years. If it's a small, beautiful town by the mountains, and then you have this great intellectual community here, and it attracts interesting people, and interesting people do interesting things. And so if that would be my guess. And, with the love of restaurants, the boom that happened in America in the 90s, and it just kind of kept going, you got a lot of people who wanted to do their dream and create food and create the experiences that they've had in their travels and in their life. They wanted to recreate that as their living. So
do you think it was the food first or the affluence first? We know it's an affluent area,
Yeah.
and we need the economy to support the restaurants as they come to market.
yeah,
Was it the economy was strong, so the restaurants followed?
no.
Or so you think it was the restaurants
Yeah.
first, and then the economy followed?
I think it was a lot of people just bullheaded doing their dream. I mean, that's how I feel like I was. Like, I'm doing this whether anyone comes or not. And luckily, people kept coming. So, but yeah, for the people I know in the industry, that they're just passionate about wanting to do this. They didn't come here because they were like, oh, it's a great business opportunity. People seem to like restaurants in Charlottesville. I think they came here and they wanted to do a restaurant, and it happened that way.
So I've been here since '87.
Okay.
Right. So,
Yeah.
and I don't want to dish anything that was happening prior to '90. But if you were to go out to eat, your options at that point was extremely limited.
Downtown, you had C&O. You had Sal's Cafe Italia.
That's exactly
The second oldest on the mall was Sal's.
That's exactly right.
C&O is the oldest.
That's exactly right.
Then owned by Dave Simpson.
Mm-hmm.
Before that,
Yeah.
Sandy McAdams. I think you had, correct me if I'm wrong, Fellini's and Hamilton's.
Probably.
No, Hamilton's wasn't there in 1987.
It was not?
I could tell you that.
But
much.
Fellini's, I believe,
Was
was.
Fellini's?
Fellini's was no.
Huh.
So
Because it had a closure.
there
for-
was this whole time frame where it was shut down,
Yeah.
and it may have been open in '87, but it shut down pretty.
Was that the infamous chief that was running Fellini's at the time?
Yeah, I've read the whole history
Me
on
too,
it.
me
Yeah,
too.
but I don't remember the
Yeah,
timeline right now. Yeah.
Let's just say they were shut down for a period of time. Then they
Okay.
reopened up, and then obviously now they shut down. I think COVID kind of did them in a little bit on that. No, the hardware store.
Okay, all right.
But as far as the restaurant's quality that you own, that you manage, that wasn't that much out here at that point in time. There was no vineyard. I think the only vineyards at that time was Jefferson Vineyards, which was the grapes were super young, not exactly world class as they are now.
Jeff Kluge?
No, Kluge wasn't.
Wasn't around then?
Wasn't around then.
Okay.
And then the only other one was Barbersville.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
At that particular point
Sure.
in time. So it's just amazing as somebody who's been here since '87 and who's a bit of a foodie.
Yeah.
Not a bit of a foodie, but we are foodies. Love to enjoy a good meal and good company. Where we ended up today,
Yeah.
and it sounds a little snobistic, if that's even a word.
You made it a word.
I made it a word.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, honey, where do you want to go to eat? We're so blessed.
Yeah,
It's like, oh,
There's great choices in town.
oh. And then we were super excited, not this Friday, but the Friday before, I tried to book actually at South and Central, and I couldn't get a table till like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock
awesome.
at night.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Which was awesome. I said, hey, Wilson, can I get that? But so let's talk about that. That was a
Yeah.
big that was a big thing, right? Dairy Market, Dairy Central.
Yeah.
You have 2 spaces in there. You know, Forbes magazine just did an excellent write-up on that, which again kind of just perpetuates this
cycle of getting people to the area.
Thank you very
and
much.
supporting the businesses.
Yeah. And so tell me about that whole process, because they were kind of building it, or tail end of it, in the middle of COVID, and how that went.
Or even as COVID was starting, really. Yeah. Well, we'd been talking about it loosely for a long time, and it was just kind of nothing. It didn't really seem to match up, and then I guess it was right as COVID was starting. We had to sit down and we came to an agreement on how to make it work. And I think I've written about it somewhere, but my lifelong restaurant dream was to do a steakhouse like this, an open hearth, live wood. And it was from a trip I went on with my dad when I was in college. We went to Italy, and we were out in the countryside, and we went to a place, this would have been in the early 90s, and, mid-90s. I saw this guy, and they were making these giant beefsteak of Fiorentinos on this open hearth cooking, and it was just so rustic and real and authentic, and it was the best steak I'd ever had in my life. I was like, I want to do that. But opening a steakhouse, it's pricey, and it's not. You're dealing with an expensive product, but even more so now as beef prices have gone way up, and it's an experience. You can't just you can't do a little cafe steakhouse. You have to do a steakhouse.
Sure.
So the timing never was right for doing it until I partnered up with the Stony Point folks. Yeah. And they loved the concept. I pitched them on this concept. They loved it. And it just started rolling, and it just kind of came together. Yeah.
Well, we're big fans of Chris Henry and Jody Mills and all those folks over there.
Great people.
They help sponsor the show, and they're just awesome folks. But you said something that kind of triggered something in my little brain here. One of the reasons we liked, because we're very fortunate, we were able to travel a lot, my wife and I. Mm-hmm. But you're 100% right, because you brought a little bit of Italy to Charlottesville, Bebederos. You brought a little bit
That's Mexican.
Yeah.
No, but I'm saying you brought that culture, traditional culture from that, and then I was going to go to Brasserie Sasson, which is very French, very very Belgian, into that. So it didn't really click until you started to say something about that, because that's what it is. You go there, and maybe if you don't have the ability to travel to that part of the world, you can do it here in Charlottesville and do it with food.
Yeah, I mean that's what with all my restaurants. It's an expression of places I've loved and have been mind blowing for me, and wanting to recreate that where I can get to it.
You said you've always wanted to open a steakhouse. You've opened a ton of restaurants.
Yeah.
Why the steakhouse and this part of the flip book? Why not the first aspect of the flip book for Wilson Richie?
Well, it was the financing. Yeah, it was. I remember actually, Bebedero was Rev Soup 2, Whiskey Jar, then Alley Light, then Bebedero, the 5th restaurant I did.
Okay. And that was in the glass building.
And at that time, I remember and that was 6 years ago, maybe, I forget. At that time, I was looking for the steakhouse. I was like, I'm doing it. I'm finally doing it. This is the time. And you can't force these things. It was the wrong time. It didn't work out, and we found the space at the Glass House at that time, and I was like, well, this isn't the steakhouse, but this would be a good restaurant, And then I started talking with Cesar and Yuli, who are my partners at Bebedero, and they were like, let's do a Mexican restaurant. And I was like, all right. So, the idea kind of came out of that. And actually several of the restaurants started with me looking to do the steakhouse again.
Really?
And I was out looking for the right thing, and then it would be like, well, this isn't quite a steakhouse, but this would be a good, So I've been trying to do this steakhouse for a long time. It's just hadn't been right. The timing hadn't been right. The money hadn't been there. Or one thing or another.
It's the most expensive one to open?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. And the steakhouse in my mind was always going to be more of an Italian themed one. But when I was building this one, the chef that I kind of tag to partner with me on this one was Kelvin Barrera, who's from Honduras. And the more we started talking about it, the more we started talking about Argentinian steak culture than Italian steak culture. And then it was just like, let's do South American. And then it was like, no, let's do all over South and Central America, because we started talking about, what they're doing in Peru, and we'd done some Mexican grill culture at the Bebedero where he was cooking with us. And
Sure.
So these things just kind of form, and it's like, all right, I'm not too stuck on my Italian steakhouse thing. Let's do what we're passionate about right now. And that's where the passion was. So that's how it ended up as South and Central.
Well, it's super successful. I mean, we've eaten there once. I'm trying to sweet talk Mrs. Smith to eat there this evening.
Awesome.
To come and see us this evening.
I'm still cooking there on the weekends, so. Yeah.
Nice.
Well, hold it. I got to change my schedule then a little bit. But it's just amazing. And talk a little bit about, the business of it, right? These are huge risks that you're taking here.
Oh, yeah.
This is most people don't understand what goes into creating a restaurant of that caliber, and then what it takes to keep it alive, just from a physical perspective.
Well, you say all the time, you don't get into the restaurant business to get rich.
Yeah, you don't. It's a lifestyle decision.
Well, I'm going to embarrass you because I'm going to read one of your quotes.
This quote is awesome, Wilson.
This is not a business. It's something one does for the love of service, hospitality, the art of food, libation, and the joy of creating memory for people to enjoy. We are grateful to carve out a living out of this joy. And we talk about this all the time on the show, what my wife and I do, what Jerry does.
Yeah.
We don't go to work. I've never worked a day in my life. It's about service.
Yeah.
It's about giving back. And so
I'd say you worked a few days during COVID, though.
Well, I mean, there's work, right?
Yeah.
We all work, right? But
that's my jam, though. I like the chaos is where I thrive.
That's my point, right? You just eat. I mean, when you came out of that hole out of the ground, you had a big old grin on your face. I have no idea what you were doing down there.
Maintenance,
yeah. But you had a big old smile on your face, man. So it wasn't because you're seeing me. It was because you were loving what you were doing.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. I mean, I love every bit of it. I love the artistic component of creating food, creating atmosphere, and then finding the right music to go with that atmosphere and just filling everything. I love that. I love working with the people I get to work with. I love meeting new staff. It's always a great moment because usually at this point I hire managers and they hire their staffs, and so I'm not as involved in the process of hiring everybody as I used to be in the old days. But it's really great when that one moment comes where I meet everybody and I do my opening, like, hey, thanks for signing on with this restaurant, and I get to start to meet young people that are coming in and just getting started, and I love every part of it.
So let's talk about the struggles of hiring folks.
Yeah.
Right? It's a real thing.
Yeah.
So, I was just reading a couple articles on this that the June has popped up in or lowered actually in unemployment, and I think your industry was second largest, around 16% in gain of folks being hired. How's it going?
It was really difficult. It was especially difficult back when we were hiring for this restaurant in earlier spring. We did everything we could think of. We did a hiring bonus.
I saw that.
Yeah, $500
after 3 weeks.
After 3 months.
Oh, 3 months.
Yeah. But we paid out during the 3 months.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean,
your executive chef, you were offering big money for your executive chef.
All the prices have gone up. All the wages have gone up just to get people in the door, which is good, I guess. I mean, it's a good thing. I mean, knock on wood that we can continue to carry it. Sure.
Well, that was my next question.
Yeah, it's been interesting. In many ways, 2021 has been more challenging than 2020.
Exactly.
I don't think I would say that had we not gotten the government assistance that we did in 2020. I think 2020 would have been a lot more challenging. But given that we did get that assistance, which got us through the PPP specifically, 2021 has been a lot harder. Because things are getting going again, and people are coming out, and we are returning to numbers we want to see. But many places, myself included, I haven't been in the kitchen in 6 years, and I've been in the kitchen since we opened the door on this one. It's hard to keep up. And I know restaurants that are closing days because they can't staff them.
They're not opening lunches or
exactly,
or
just like, hey, no more Sunday Monday, I think, my colleagues are all feeling this, and we talk about it all the time. It's good. Business is good, but everything feels like we're still in this kind of like not real space right now, because we're all the owners are working their butts off in their restaurants, doing everything they can, and that's what we signed up for. That's what we want to do, but and employee retention has gone way down. People sign on, they're like, nah, I don't want to do this, and then they're gone, and they don't give you notice, and it's been really hard. It's been a really hard atmosphere.
Transition.
Yeah, and I don't know what it is. I mean, everybody keeps saying that it's because the unemployment, still going on.
I don't think it is anymore.
I don't think it's that either.
They've transitioned to new careers.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
You especially saw that at your bar scene at the Whiskey Jar.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 2 of my guys have been with me for like 9 years.
Yeah,
we're like, hey man, it's just time for phase 2 now. We're just going to go do different things, which is completely fine. It's legitimate.
Sure.
And
So I can
it's
add
like
some-
more power to you, but it's just interesting to see so much of that at the same time.
Right.
So I can add some context to that. So I'm a recovering developer and builder, went through the great housing depression.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what happened in our industry back in 2008, 9, and 10. People just moved on to different careers and they never came back.
Yeah.
And it's part of why, and part of the reason I wanted to talk to you about this is a real estate show. But in certain ways, we're kind of connected, right? We're kind of connected the way your market is going, the way our market is going, and
absolutely.
all this stuff. We're very much so connected. And I kind of wanted to hear from your end of it how you were working through this, and more importantly, I get asked this question all the time. What is the future going to look like in real estate? What's the future going to look like in your sphere?
In restaurants.
I have no idea. We ask ourselves that all the time. What's the end game here? Like, what's the future of this? One thing like we've seen, South and Central is where most of my time is right now.
Sure.
And one thing I've seen there is just we have the youngest staff I've ever worked with. I mean, literally a lot of high school kids coming in, kids getting home from college, and they're loving it. Because anybody who's worked restaurant, it's dynamic.
Exhilarating.
It's exhilarating.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
There's an adrenaline rush.
Yeah.
I mean, stuff's going. You feel like the Matrix. It's
The beer always tastes the best after a restaurant shift.
Yes.
On a Friday or Saturday.
So it's neat to see this younger generation coming in and being interested, and we're like, where's all the like mid-20 to mid-30-year-olds that used to be the people who did this work? There's still a lot of them out there, and at Cafe Frank we have an awesome like kind of veteran team, which I love, but it's a smaller restaurant, so we were able to find the right folks there. But yeah, at South and Central it is by far easily the youngest team, and that brought its challenges because we always say like you don't need experience, come in. We want to we definitely want to train people on our techniques and our ways.
Sure.
But to get so many, to get an entire staff.
But then you lose them though at a certain point, right?
Yeah, and that's we're going to see that in August when people have to go back to school and things like that, and we'll just make it up at that point.
Is the future I love talking with guys like you that are ahead of the game. Is the future less table service and more window pickup to accommodate the staffing crunch?
I think a lot of people think that, and I think there are moves being made to head that way, but I don't think I don't think we'll ever lose the traditional model. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
The traditional model is the model for a reason. I mean, there's something elegant to that, to being served.
Sure.
And I don't think that's ever going away, but it definitely might be ebbing.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's going to be a hybrid. Right?
Yeah.
I think you're going to see a little bit of both, a little bit of this. You guys did a pop-up at South and Central. Yona, my wife and I went in there. You guys are doing sausages or something on the patio.
The grand opening for Dairy Market. We did that, patio thing, yeah.
That was unbelievable because we were not ready to sit down for a 2-hour meal.
Yeah.
But we wanted to grab something quick, sat outside, had a glass of rosé.
Perfect.
Something to eat up. So that worked out really great for where we were at the time. But it's kind of like what we've been talking about. So where is, what is this going to look like next year, right? It's just our industry and what we're doing. It's just going to be this hybrid of in-person meetings and Zoom meetings, or it's just going to be a hybrid of like Keith and Yona. We prefer to sit down. We love to sit down.
I love to sit down too, but the reason I brought this up with him is because $15 an hour is turning into the norm around here.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a reflection eventually on menu prices if it hasn't already.
Absolutely.
Gas and fuel are going up, which means the entire
Cost
supply
of food's
chain
going up, yeah.
with restaurants is going to go up. So if cost of goods are going up like they're going, you guys got to save the little piece of pie that
Yeah.
you have to earn. And I'm just wondering how that's going to change
Our chemistry is working, so that's literally where I was going.
moving forward. So that's why we're picking your brain.
And you may see what you might see as a gap in that mid-level restaurant, that mid-level service restaurant going away, and then more quick serve, and then higher end.
That's probably what it is.
You know, and you're going to see that mid-tier restaurant gap.
So define that for somebody who doesn't know.
You know, affordable full-service restaurants.
Yeah, he's talking
might
like
be
15 to 30 a cover.
Yeah,
Type
yeah.
price. Is that what you're talking about?
That's exactly what you might.
Yeah.
I don't know how much longer with what we're having to pay people and what we're
Right.
having to pay for the food, we can do lower entree prices. Yeah, that 15 to mid-20s level restaurant. I'm just spitballing here. Who knows what? Every month is new right now. You know,
Sure.
every month it's like you couldn't hire anybody back in March, April. It was nobody, and then they slowly started to see people come in, and it's still not where it needs to be, but it's getting better-ish. And hopefully by fall it'll be better still. I have no idea, but I think that's what would happen is that the loss of that mid-tier restaurant, full-service restaurant.
That's interesting. I have to.
I think he's right.
Yeah, I would. I wouldn't. That's your world, but it does make a lot of
And
sense.
then if you want the full service, like the white tablecloth,
Yeah.
the cloth napkin, you just got to get ready to go
Pay a little bit more.
$50 minimum a cover and
Yeah.
up
Yeah.
to be able to accommodate that. And that's just, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do hats off to you again. Give you some kudos. Your food is always consistent.
Yeah.
Which is
Dude, you do it right, man.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate
But
it.
what you really do right is you train your staff well.
For sure.
You know, we love to be served well, right? And
He's got a ton of ex-staff watching. For instance, Eric LaFontaine is watching from the Ben Barbecue
Yeah,
in Scottsville.
love Eric, yeah.
He's giving you some props now. He
We've
says
worked
it's a
together for
labor of
years.
love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
we've never had a meal at any one of your establishments and not been served well.
Well, I like to think that I surround myself with really good managers, and then they do that work.
Well, let's start
So,
from the top, my friend.
Yeah.
So we've never walked away having a bad experience.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Have you considered, or maybe you already have, getting into the real estate ownership game? And the reason I'm bringing this up
Yeah.
is when a developer, has an idea for a project, I would think the first people they're going to target for this project is people like you, who have this it factor, this cool factor, who can create brands that are super cool and then make people want to flood to that new development because of the Milkman's Bar and River and the Breakfast of Champions.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how many times I've taken friends to Dairy Market. The first place we go is to the Milkman's Bar. Get a Breakfast of Champions. We see your team make that thing. It's
Yeah,
like
it's awesome.
10 minutes. It's
Yeah.
this like, the pomp and circumstance of it is amazing.
Yeah, River's so creative.
He's so creative.
He's amazing. Yeah.
I mean, so Andy, a perfect example is a friend of ours, Andy McClure.
Yeah.
Citizen Burger Bar
Love Andy.
Richmond. Just bought the building
Yeah.
where Citizen Burger Bar Richmond is.
That's awesome. Good
Yeah,
for him.
it is awesome.
Yeah.
So have you considered, are you doing that already?
I'm doing that already.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Okay, which ones?
Yeah.
Can I ask?
So where Cafe Frank is,
Okay.
I own that building.
Fantastic.
So, yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, that's
That
the
is-
swan song. That's where I want to be the old man polishing glasses, you
Or
know.
coming out of the-
or coming out.
You bought the building.
Yeah, yeah.
That is awesome.
So yeah, that's been awesome. That's
Good.
That's where I want to retire.
Good for you.
Okay.
Ownership is where it's at if you can do it.
Oh, 100%. I mean, you realize at the end of the day, especially with the popularity of restaurants, it's not like it was in the old days. It's not as much of a business anymore. It's your own creation.
Sure.
And people aren't buying your creation anymore. They have their own creation. So people don't buy restaurants, not that I've seen, like they used to when I was getting into it in '98, I guess.
Now they're just buying leases and equipment.
That's right, exactly. So if you know, so your whole career, I mean, you're making the money you're making while you're working, but you've got nothing at the end of the day, really, unless you can own the building.
There you go.
You're just
Ownership
paying the
is key.
landlord.
Well,
Yeah.
it's like what we talk about on our show, right, on real estate, renting versus owning, right? We're having the same exact conversation.
So awesome,
We're
Wilson.
having
Yeah.
the same. Good for you.
Yeah.
So Cafe Frank, one of my favorite spots on the downtown
Thank you.
mall.
Yeah, that's
talk,
been-
talk to me about the genesis of that. How did that idea come around?
So, well, I'm partners with Jose de Brito
Yep.
on that, and he's in the kitchen running it. And it was, I had already started turning the gears on South and Central when Jose and I started talking about that. And
That
you know,
guy's big time.
yeah, he's amazing. he's a very humble man, so I won't say too much, but I do think he's the best chef in town.
We came back from my 40th birthday trip. I spent the week in Paris. Sounds a little fancy, but this is what we did. And we came back at that time, he was running where Orzo's is at that time. Came in there and had a meal with him, and it was much better than we ever had in Paris.
Yeah. He's
unbelievable.
He is unbelievable. So passionate, so dedicated to his craft. And we opened the Alley Light together, and we got a James Beard nomination for that. And then he went off to the Inn at Little Washington, and I went off and did other things. But yeah, we just started talking again, and he wanted to do a project together again. And I knew PK was leaving Splendor. She told me over a year before she left. She was like, "I'm not going to be re-signing the lease," and I was like, "Are you sure?" Because I really don't want to open something right now. Right. It's a great spot, and that was always my intention. But this was right as COVID hit. And it was like, please, not right now. And I've got this other project. And so Jose and I talked, and I explained the difficulties. Like, I'm also doing this other thing, and it's going to be hard. And we found, we just decided to move forward with it. And we found Johnny Frankenberger, who's GMing Cafe Frank.
From New York, right?
I don't know. No, I think he was from...
He's not in New York.
No, I think he's from Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Yeah. But Johnny's been in the area forever, and he's had his own places, and he's just an amazing guy. And he's like, "Well, yeah, man, I'll take this on. Me and Jose will keep this going, and then you go do South and Central." And yeah, so I mean, it just worked.
The uniqueness of Cafe Frank. It's pretty unique because you can bring meals home. Back to Jerry's comment about the hybrid of it. It's kind of for Charlottesville. It's kind of a unique product.
Yeah, and it's based on a very normal thing that you see in France. Right. Where you go to the sandwich shops where the sandwiches are pre-made and they're out there, and you just kind of point, and there they are. And then Jose's doing these amazing salads and sides, the classic niçoise salad, and he does this lobster salad that's amazing. So I
had that on last Tuesday.
Yeah,
when I bumped into you, I ordered. That was out of this world.
Yeah. And it's, the grab and go concept is very, we've seen it forever. And we took what is a normal European concept, and also done in the States, of course, and we thought, all right, we're opening in COVID. This will work better. People feel better about grab and go. It's faster. There's less time commitment inside a space. And so it jived with opening during COVID, and it was something we thought we wanted to do anyway, especially because his focus is so much dinner. And the lunch had to be simple. It had to be, so classic French street food was the thing to do. It worked on so many different levels. And then we're also doing the Take the Chef Home meals where you can get, and that started specifically during COVID, where he would do something a little fancier that traveled well. That was the big thing a lot of restaurants saw during COVID, is that their cuisine didn't always travel well, and I think that hurt a lot of those mid-level full-service restaurants where it's like, well, the beauty of this is kind of in the plating. But Jose nailed that. He kind of found a way to do nice dinners that you could take home and still transport it.
But you have table service too, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, these are all the things we do in addition to table service. Yeah. So you can get a full nice meal to take home. I think we're doing that Thursday, Friday, Saturday. You could do the takeout most of the day. We're doing the aperitif hour, which is from 4 to 6, where we do a classic sort of, it's kind of a Spanish, French, Italian sort of mashup, tapas or cicchetti. You come in between 4 and 6, you can get a little aperitif and some little bites, So there's lots of different things we are doing at Cafe Frank.
Again, if you're not blessed to be able to travel the world, you can just go to Cafe Frank and get a little bit of some European flair. And as you know, my wife is European, and any opportunity we can get to do that is great.
Awesome.
So what's next? I mean, a guy like you,
gotta chill.
I'm waiting for the dust to settle.
No. Yeah. A guy like you, there's some idea floating around.
But this is the most you've opened in a short amount of time.
This is the most I've ever taken on at once. Absolutely. And I moved on top of that. Yeah, and the pandemic.
So you got nothing else turning in the back of
that. Of course. Yeah. It's always, you've always got the peg, and you're just waiting for the hole.
There you go.
Do you feel compelled to open things when opportunities arise in a small area? Like, you're in a lot of ways, and I'm going to embarrass you a little bit here, you're in a lot of ways the mayor of the mall. Do you feel compelled to open something when a building opens to kind of protect the other ones, to keep people coming to the mall? Does that make sense?
Yeah, in many ways, yeah. I mean, I'm attracted by good architecture. You know, that's the first, like, oh my God, this building's available. We got to do something here. You know. But yeah, I mean, I've always, you know, a lot of people have asked me, like, why would you open something a block from your other thing? You're just...
But there's a strategy.
Yes, there absolutely is. I mean, it draws, the more good restaurants there are downtown, the more people are going to want to come and, you know, maybe have drinks at this one, walk over to that one, or, you know, or not even think about it. Let's just go downtown. We're going to find something good. And that's the atmosphere we want to create.
Sure.
And I'm sure, you know, Belmont's the same way, and West Main and all the different little areas in town the same way. I mean, there's great areas, and now you can just kind of, I mean, you kind of need reservations all the time these days, but, you know, it's nice to know, hey, I'm going to go downtown and I'm going to find something good, and, you know, good restaurants just keep opening.
Well, needing reservations is a blessing for you.
Yeah, it is a blessing.
Should I promised to get you out of here. We're a little bit over. Can you stay a little bit longer? I'd love to ask.
1 minute.
Well,
you gotta go.
Yeah.
Okay. I can tell.
Well, I won't ask the big question then.
Yeah.
What's the big question?
Oh, about the open container.
Oh, we should ask him about that. Yeah, I'm sure he wants to say something about
I would love to hear your opinion on that.
Well,
the beer garden guys.
Yeah, as Jerry knows more than anybody, I've been a fan of this for years and years and years. Whenever the city asked me, what more could we be doing? I brought up that idea. It was open air drinking in the mall. Come on, it just makes so much sense. It's going to be a draw for the community. You know, there's ups and downs, but overall, I just think that it would make the area. It would make the downtown mall, or whatever area is able to do it and open to do it, a destination, a cool place to go. It would just add a level of interestingness, you know, that they have in Savannah, they've got in Key West, they have in New Orleans, you know, all the places that do this, are places that are known tourist attractions. Why wouldn't we do that here? I mean, it's not hurting anybody. You know?
And it's not foreign to us because kind of the Fridays After 5 is
Sure.
a small version.
Tom's a good example.
Tom, there you go. Yeah. Perfect. Tom.
Well, and think what it would do for even a Fridays After 5 thing. If you could have bands all up and down the mall
cool.
and turn the whole mall into, you know, like you start at one end, you watch that band, then you move up a little bit. There's, you know, a really cool band playing there, and you got a beer in your hand, and you're just
be amazing.
It'd be awesome.
So I'll play devil's advocate.
Yeah.
So what's the downside? From an elected official, you know, he or she's going to make this decision hopefully on Monday.
Yeah.
What's the downside? And what can we do to alleviate that?
I don't know what they think the downside is. I mean, is it public drunkenness? Because you could do that anyway. You know, there's nothing where you're holding your beer doesn't keep you from getting any more or less drunk. I don't know. That's the only downside I could.
Is there an additional cost to the jurisdiction, to the city?
Yeah.
Well, here's the downside, and this is what the mayor has said in the meeting. So there is an additional cost for management. That additional cost would easily be recuperated by an uptick in the meals tax and the lodging tax for people coming.
And plus, you have to pay for a cup, right, or something.
The mayor has said the downside is it may not create diversity downtown. And I will agree with her that it probably will not create diversity downtown, but I will counter that point by saying the incremental revenue that comes from the beer garden on the downtown mall, that revenue can be allocated or earmarked for diversity purposes in the city of Charlottesville. So hopefully we, as elected officials, think next step or big picture and not just things in a silo.
So I'm probably going to get myself into a little bit of trouble.
That's what she says is the only downside.
I'm going to get myself into a little trouble right now. So to put that,
you got two counselors watching right here. Just a heads up.
That's okay. I understand the rationale, right? And you know, I've always defended the elected officials when I sit in this seat because it's a hard job to do, right?
Sure,
it's just super hard to do. I've been doing it for 35 years. I know what it takes to do that. But it's kind of back to the conversation about what I'm passionate about is the missing middle in affordable housing. If we don't do anything, what we know for sure is going to happen is more folks like the three of us are going to be moving in here. So the thing is, if they don't do anything, it's going to happen anyway. This lack of diversity is, from our perspective, is going to happen anyway. This opportunity brings in incremental income so that it could be used to maybe give to affordable housing nonprofits, right?
Yeah, that's how she's got to look at it.
Yeah.
Well,
Total.
I'm gonna let you guys keep talking about that.
I know, you got to go. Good to
Yeah.
see you. I appreciate you.
Hey, great
Good
to see you guys.
Good to see you, man.
Thank you, my
Good to
friend.
see you.
I'm going to.
There you go.
I've.
See you guys.
Yeah,
Thank
good
you.
one.
Thank you.
Huge fan of that guy, Wilson Ritchie. I just think that if we can create an innovative concept like this, then we can earmark that revenue for diversity purposes. And that's what we've been trying to drive home on this network to our elected officials in City Hall. It's going to come up on Monday's City Council meeting, so prepare yourself, get informed, understand what's going on.
I honestly, from a restaurateur, from somebody who does this for a living every day, I would wanted to know what the negatives possibly might be.
Well, the restaurateurs don't see any negatives.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
Yeah.
I don't see any. I think as long as it's not a fiscal drain on the city, it's quite the opposite.
I think it's a no-brainer.
I don't get the concern. Now, I think wanting more information, that's good, right? Certain city councilors wanted some more information. Hopefully on Monday, that's what they're going to get. But I don't see the downside to it.
Wilson Ritchie, if you have not had a chance to try any of his restaurants, I very much encourage you to give them a try. The Milkman's Bar is about as good a cocktail experience as you're going to find in Charlottesville. It's absolutely fantastic. And then the whole Dairy Market, and Dairy Market is one of the sponsors of Real Talk. That whole Dairy Market experience, guys, is A++.
Unbelievable. You can wander through that. I mean, Forbes magazine wrote about it.
I saw that.
I mean, again, Charlottesville is the top of all these lists, and those are reasons why. I'm a huge ice cream fan, and literally on the way home last night, we stopped on Through on 29 because you got to.
Yeah.
You got to do that, but you can get anything from ice cream to a beer to a steak. But yeah, you've got to go out there and check out Wilson Ritchie's restaurants. I mean, my favorite lunch go-to, Cafe Frank is now number 2, but my number 1 is Revolutionary Soup. I mean, get a soup and a sandwich, and life is good.
His first brand, Revolutionary Soup. In fact, I was having this conversation on Friday with someone who is considering opening a new concept on the mall, and we're helping them come to market with this idea. The only thing missing downtown is potentially a breakfast and lunch spot that is $10, $12 and under. Revolutionary Soup certainly fills that need, but the breakfast and lunch spot, $10 or $12 and under, prepare yourself, one may be coming soon to market on the downtown mall.
I'm in. I mean, really, the only, breakfast on the downtown mall is
The Nook.
The Nook.
Yeah.
And I think that's about it, right?
No, you have the Nook that does breakfast on the downtown mall. You have Grit Coffee that does breakfast on the downtown mall. Java and Mud House have breakfast sandwiches.
But not table service, though.
On the downtown mall. Grit has table service.
It does.
Those are the only ones.
Yeah, well, no, good breakfast is always hard to come by in any place that you wander around and all that stuff. So, look, Richie's an outstanding individual. Literally, I tackled him as he came out of the hole.
Yeah.
I did. Emily was with me, and I embarrassed the hell out of her. Emily Funk, our assistant, that, hey, you want to come on the show? Because I think it's important for folks to hear the success stories and hear about why is Charlottesville number 2?
Chaps is right. Another
Chaps.
Well done, mustache Dan Petty.
There you go. Well done.
Chaps.
I should know, a fellow New Yorker. It's why is it number 2, number 3? Why is it all these top things? It's because folks like Richie and you and other folks take a risk and get out there and get in front of the world, and the world responds pretty well. And it just kind of amazes me. We just came back from Connecticut visiting, and I went on a bike ride, went out for lunch after the ride. The family met me there. I put my UVA hat on, and it's amazing how many people. Hey, they talk about UVA number one, but the second thing they always talk about is the food scene here and the wine scene and the beer scene, and it was never like that. '87, I was telling you, there wasn't much here. You know, it was crickets when
we have Virginia baseball go deep in the College World Series. We have the New York Times call Charlottesville one of the top vacation destinations on the East Coast because of vaccination rates. Heck, Albemarle County is number one in the Commonwealth, and it's not even close. A vaccination rate of almost 3/4 of the population in Albemarle County has gotten 2 shots or fully vaccinated for this pandemic. Dudes and dudettes watching the show, this affordability crisis is only going to worsen in Charlottesville as people from outside the area sprint to Central Virginia to set up their home.
I gave out more business cards up in Connecticut than I did here. Hey,
that's amazing.
It's just the way it is. But that's why, not to keep on going back to affordability and all affordable housing and all that stuff. But it's so important that we have this conversation. And in my opinion, it's so important. We're going to have Neil Williams and Sean Tubbs.
Neil
Williamson, thank you.
Yeah, he's watching.
Thank you. On Friday, and we're going to talk a little bit, give him a little heads up while he's listening, we're going to talk a little bit about the UVA's plan here, right? This whole plan of possibly bringing second-year students onto campus, this whole 1,000 to 15 unit, is it really going to work? How is it going to go from their perspective? And then, maybe tap into their beautiful brains a little bit about what they think is going to happen at the city council on Monday with the beer garden concept. But, they've been doing that in Europe forever.
Yeah. I'm part of that.
I know that. That's why I'm trying to give you a shout out here. But
I'm meeting with the folks later this week. I think it's going to be a 4-1 vote, is my prediction, in favor. The interesting wrinkle that came from the last meeting was Councilor McGill saying it should not only be downtown if we approve this. It should also be in other aspects of Charlottesville. So that would lead you to believe, if she's in favor of that, if she can drum up interest from the other folks on the dais, that you could potentially have multiple open container sections in the city.
Yeah, Belmont would be one.
Belmont, Ix would be a really good one.
More than likely what'll happen is I think you're right. I don't know about the vote count, but I think it'll be successful. I think the downtown will be the beta test, the POP, proof of performance, and then it'll start moving out from that area. And I think right now, you are allowed up to certain areas to the ABC laws to have open containers, right? So Barbadero, you can have it. Not
Barbadero's on the mall.
Brazo, thank you. Brazo, thank you for keeping me straight.
Brazo's has the patio you can have it in.
Yeah, then they have certain
patio area.
Correct, and they have certain signs. I think you can walk a little bit this way or the other way. But so it's it's just a revenue producing behemoth. All you got to do is look at Nelson County, right? Nelson County, they opened up the Brew Trail, or
but that's not a beer garden.
Well, I understand that, but the concept.
It's just breweries on a road.
Which is not a good thing.
Yeah.
but the reality of it is they got in front of this whole concept of what do they call it? There's a tourism. Alcohol tourism, but there's some sort of term that's escaping me at the moment on that they embraced it a long time ago, allowing this to happen from a county's perspective, to have these beer gardens, to have these vineyards, and so much so folks like Mr. King went out and petitioned the state to go ahead and help promote the business. I just think it's going to work, but that's just my personal opinion.
Neil Williamson, welcome to the show. Aaron King, Western Albemarle's finest, hello. Nicholas Erpy from Emergent Financial Services, hello. Interstate Service Company, a home's best friend, a part of the program. We love you, Interstate Service Companies, and all you do for getting homes ready for market.
Absolutely. Let's talk about that for a second. I've got to reach out to them after this meeting. I've got a couple of listings. We're starting to see in the market listings picking up quite a bit, actually, compared to what they were. on that stuff, but a lot of them might need a little bit of help, and call Interstate. They're the right folks to go ahead and help you out. And I got to make a phone call as soon as that, because we got a little renovation work we got to do on a listing that Mrs. Smith has coming up.
Awesome. Neil Williamson says more housing everywhere. How's the market doing?
Yeah, so we've been traveling a lot this weekend. I can tell you my phone's been ringing off the hook for listings, so it's doing good. I think I haven't really not had a chance to dig into the numbers, so I don't want to recite stuff that is not absolutely accurate. But I do look at it on kind of a daily basis, and we're starting to see more come on the market than go into pending on this daily monitor that I watch. It's anemic, right? It's not these huge numbers, but we're starting to see stuff come on the market. I think we predicted this a long time ago. I think you're going to see a flattening out. That's going to be my next prediction for the next 12 months. You're going to see things flatten out a little bit, and one of the things that we're going to be working on here in the near future is talk a little bit about this forbearance that's going to be ending here in a little bit while, and what kind of market it's going to do that. I had some conversations with family members actually, that were talking about, what do I do? So I'm working on a panel of experts on, so what do you do if you're coming up against the wall on that timeline? But the market's doing great, but it's interesting listening to Richie. It's funny, everybody expected, except for us, this dive in the real estate market in the middle of COVID, and it didn't. It came up to this V that we were talking about. But you're starting to see it. It's a little bit of a leveling off, and I just think you're going to see that going forward. I may be wrong. We'll find out 2 years from now when we look on our show and watch it.
David Gomez, welcome to the show. Amaya Berger, welcome to the broadcast. I don't think you're wrong. NBC 29, hello. I don't think you're wrong. In fact, I think the market, as people get back from getting out of town this summer, is going to get more red hot. And I've said that the final 6 months of this year is going to continue the seller's market frenzy.
It is, but you're seeing a bit of a balancing, right? Some buyers are kind of waning off a little bit, but you're 100% right on the holiday thing. Folks have taken vacations pretty much soon as the button said you can do this, folks went out.
As we get more attention for the vaccination rates in this area, now we have national publications in America talking about Albemarle County and the city of Charlottesville and our vaccination rates, which kudos to everybody in Central Virginia, specifically the city of Charlottesville and Albemarle County. We've been getting this needle in our arms. And as the New York Times, as the USA Today, as the Huffington Post, these media outlets are becoming evangelists for Charlottesville and Albemarle. They're going to continue to flood people from outside the area into this area with bags of money looking to move. You got the baby boomers. You got the University of Virginia. We have the data science school that's close to coming on market. You got Code. You got Dexcom that are still opening. Willow Tree, Co-Construct. I mean, we're not even at the tip of this.
No, and we talk about this all the time. The largest buying pool is this millennial. You know what the largest selling pool is?
This is the baby boomers,
it's
the empty nesters.
Me.
Yeah.
And Mrs. Smith. And so you're starting to see that we're now comfortable with putting our houses on the market, as we've made a decision to move closer to the grandkids, or Florida.
Please don't move to Connecticut.
No.
You would not be a happy man.
No. No.
Are you being solicited?
You think?
Yeah.
No. That is no. Let me make this clear.
Oh, I think you made it very clear. You're not a man to deal well with traffic.
Well, what do you think I left there for?
I know.
No, it was great to go up and see the grandbabies. Loved them. Drove down, missing them every step of the way. I don't know how we would do it, though, without FaceTime and the technology.
I know, it's so nice. Mustache Dan Pettit says, not many rentals to handle the supply of people coming to our area, so they may just buy. Not many homes to buy either, Mustache Dan Pettit. You're just going to continue to see this demand uptick, and rental prices are going through the freaking roof. I mean, rental prices, You can't find. You know how hard it is to find anything in Charlottesville or Albemarle County under $1,500 a month.
I know, because I've got a client I'm trying to find one.
I mean, even under $1,600 a month.
If you're lucky, you can find a 2-bedroom, 1 bath for about $1,600.
Yeah, if you're lucky.
If you're lucky.
Right.
Yeah, it's. Look, to quote Neil Williams, more is better.
Neil Williamson.
Williamson. I don't know why I can't get dropped that Williamson.
He says more housing everywhere for everyone.
Yeah. So, and I think you guys tackled this on Friday with Quentin Beckham, that, it just more housing helps everybody across the table. I think Lee was doing a little bit of pushback on that as I was watching it. But yeah, the missing middle works. And all you got to do is look to the other jurisdictions that do it. It really works, and it really moves in. But look, like we were talking about with the beer garden concept, right? If you don't do it, I'm sitting in Norwalk, Connecticut, at a coffee shop on my bike with my Virginia hat on, having a cup of coffee, and to quote you, they're talking about the New York Times article, they're talking about Forbes, they're talking about all this stuff, and they want the hell out. They want the hell out, and they're coming. And so if we don't have this missing middle, have this middle product for other folks to buy, it's just going to get gobbled up.
It's just not going to happen anytime soon.
No.
I mean, I know you guys are, and Neil's watching. I respect what you guys do with this missing middle housing.
No truer words have ever been spoken.
We're years away from this.
No truer words have ever been spoken.
Yeah.
And this was the comment.
Even this upzoning change.
No truer words.
We've been talking about this for
quite a while.
How long?
Quite enough that I can't remember.
Right?
Yeah. And the conversation, we'll pick this up on Friday, but the conversation I had with any opportunity I have with the UVA program that I'm part of, I drive home all the time. The guys, do you understand you're 5-10 years out? You understand you're 5-10 years out. What are we going to do today? What are we going to do today? What are we going to do tomorrow? And, it's what they've done out west is if you check the boxes, it's expedited. The old turning red tape into green tape on that end of it. But you're 100% right. I wish I had a magic answer for that. But, as far as the market goes, folks are bringing homes on the market. They're selling. You couldn't ask for a better time to buy or sell right now, to be honest with you. So,
this question on the feed here, Keith, why do we not see so many brick homes being built anymore?
Wow,
that's from Timothy.
That's a great question.
It's the cost, Timothy.
It's the cost. It's also a trend thing, right? It's an architectural trend thing.
The most expensive home to build is an all brick home.
Brick veneer.
Well, no, an all brick.
Yeah. Well, you don't see it. You haven't seen a lot of true masonry construction around here. You don't see a lot of that.
You see brick veneer is just fronted brick.
But the trends have been, for the last 4 or 5 years, something called mixed materials. So if you take a look at some, the newer homes that are being built, they're mixed materials. They have everything from a little bit of stone, a little bit of brick,
little hardy plank.
Little hardy plank, some metal roofing on some accent kind of thing. So you see this mixed materials on that. But it also used to be back in the day, like in the 50s and the 60s, that's when most of these old brick homes, it was just cheaper to build. And now the product is expensive. Oh, by the way, nobody's coming out of high school saying, I want to hump around block and brick and all that stuff.
You got no subs that can do it because that's arguably the most difficult home to build.
Your skilled labor is going down big time.
Cost of goods are through the roof.
Cost of goods are through the roof. So it's a lot easier to build a stick framed product. Great question, by the way.
Yeah, thank you, Timothy. Will the all brick home return, he wants to know?
Probably not. Look, the reality of it is, I was trying to chime in on Friday. There's this whole component of the high school education system that really needs a boost in the arm, and it's the vocational system. We have a system in place, but it's really not a boost on. People are not going into high school saying, I want to go through the
I
mason.
want to be an electrician. I want to be a mason. I want to be a plumber.
That's exactly right. That's the reason why my little brother, I call him Dr. Smith, because he's a trim carpenter and he writes his own ticket on that stuff. There's very few skilled laborers out there to do that. So we'll get materials. The materials are cyclical. The materials will come down. But the track to train somebody, Wilson was talking about this, right? The track to train somebody is years and decades to come out and really become a skilled craftsperson on that stuff. I don't, you'll see a little brick accents or that kind of thing, but a true masonry home, you very rarely see them.
Lauren Gomez says, gentlemen, do we think Scottsville is going to boom? I'm on the MLS all the time, and Scottsville seems to be one of the last affordable pockets in our area.
It's funny, Yona and I were talking about Scottsville as we came through Gordonsville yesterday and stopped for some barbecue in the evening. The reality of it is, yes and no, right? Scottsville's getting it right. The town manager, his name escapes me.
Matt Lawless.
Thank you. It is pretty awesome. He was on a regional housing, I think I mentioned this, regional housing partnership call, and where I was pitching for money. Dude jumped right in. That was jumped in. I'm ready. Here we go. So they get it. They want to grow it. It's a great little town. Prior to the Corps of Engineers building the what is it called? The levee system on it. It used to flood a lot. So now you don't have that. It has a great levee system. The travel time is a bit much, right? It's a little hard to come down 20 to get into that. And maybe some folks in Scottsville can chime in on it a little bit. I'm not really sure where they're at with their broadband at the moment. They're probably part of this new program that Firefly is going to.
Yeah.
So broadband is kind of a little bit, but the commute to and from Charlottesville is a little, I don't want to say difficult, but a little different coming down to it. It's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous ride if you do that. But yeah, so that's what we talk about this all the time. It's going to go out to the periphery. That's what's going to happen.
Dr. Hertz Tire Plant in the news in the Daily Progress over the weekend. I would encourage Ms. Gomez to read that article in the Daily Progress, I believe from Allison Rabel, on Dr. Hertz Tire Plant in the town of Scottsville trying to incentivize development or something dynamic with that tire plant. Studio apartments would seem like a no-brainer for Dr. Hertz power plant in Scottsville.
I know a little bit about this property,
apartments.
And I didn't read the article, so thank you for bringing it up.
The asbestos is something that they got to remedy first.
That and the potential brownfield stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
But you're 100% right. It's got central water and sewer.
Yeah.
Right. It's right on the river. It's freaking gorgeous
And
property.
it brings people to Scottsville,
And
paying customers.
And what is generally the biggest hurdle for developers that want to do a project like this? The two biggest hurdles: cost of land, and I think it would be reasonably priced. Actually, three: infrastructure, utilities. They've got that. Other than it might be a little bit later on.
Government interference.
That's it.
Yeah, and the government of the town of Scottsville is ready to fast track this.
And that's exactly right.
Problem is you got the wrong owner of the property.
Yeah.
The man's long in the tooth, and he's not going to be doing any kind of innovating anytime soon.
So to flip that around, it's no different than the project I've been trying to do for 5 years on the former IGA on Cherry Avenue. Has everything it's needed. Just can't get the price to where it's reasonable. And everybody to talk to, it may be the same situation out there, but yeah, it's a great project if you can get through the couple of road bumps. But you'll find developers will figure out ways to get the math to work if the jurisdiction is, let's say, understanding and willing to be a willing participant in the process, which clearly Scottsville wants to.
I mean, if you got Gordon and Taylor Sutton at Tiger Fuel making serious moves at that shopping center, and with this car wash that's going to be coming to market soon.
Yep.
You got that. I mean, they own that shopping center.
Yep.
They're going to develop that shopping center into something special. New facades, new streetscape, new look.
They don't do anything that isn't special.
Right. They do everything the right way. Tiger Fuel is a stakeholder that's committed to Scottsville. Now you just need bodies in Scottsville. You need bodies living in Scottsville. And there's affordable real estate there.
Yep.
If you can somehow get it where folks don't have to come to the city,
That
that can take off.
That's where I've had folks look at this, and that's where the penciling gets a little screwy, is, how can we make the connection between the two? And so the employment, when the tire factory was there and it was employing whatever number of folks, that was the employment center there. Now the employment center is more of a vacational kind of thing, or float in the river, those kind of things. So somebody's either going to have to work from home there, or they're going to have to travel, and that's where the struggle is. But yeah, Matt's a great guy. I mean, it's just there's just this one little thing that's missing, and I'm not so sure even if it pencils out from a numbers perspective, is how you're going to make the connection of the buyers.
I don't think if you can get them to stay, I don't think you need to make the connection. You show them that they can live, work, and play in Scottsville. Like Scottsville itself, the town of Scottsville should almost think of itself as this lifestyle center.
I get to live and play, but I don't get to work.
Well, it's digital nomad. It's
Got it.
Zoomtown. You create this tire factory in a way where it's fiber, ISP, super dynamic.
Got it.
And then you have these micro studio apartments where millennials and 30-somethings can live, work, and play.
Same conversation would have been having with Willen Mills, and look how successful that was. Years ago, people would say almost the same thing that I just said. Okay, so where are you going to work? Well, Willen Mills just created the work environment there. Yeah, it's something that we need to research a little bit more. It sounds like we're pushing towards a roundtable on Scottsville, kind of like we did for Gordonsville.
I hosted one.
So
yeah.
So but I think bringing in a developer brain in that end of it to find out what the downside of that project might be. But you got my wheels turning, though.
Yeah.
As you usually do.
I've been following that market extremely closely. I think that one could be potentially the next, one of the next Belmonts to happen.
Yeah, so Yona, for a bunch of years, consulted for the soapstone company up in Schuyler. So we used to drive through that. And this was when the original Dewdrop Inn, which
I remember the Dewdrop Inn.
Walton's fame was there, and it changed a lot since then. But it's Scottsville. Just I don't know what it is, and you're a branding guy, so you know this better than I do. But there's this little thing missing, and I don't quite know what it is.
It's the young bodies. It's the millennials and younger. It's the Gen Zers.
Yeah.
It's getting. You do Oliver Kutner's micro studio apartment idea in the tire plant that he wanted to do between here and Ix. You do the micro studio apartments in Dr. Hertz's tire plant, Scottsville will boom. Because you can just have it's the live, work, play thing. Yeah. They'd walk downtown, grab a beer at the brewery. Scottsville's talking about turning its downtown into a beer garden.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I'll bet you they beat Charlottesville.
Oh, there's no doubt they're going to beat Charlottesville to this.
Yeah.
They have less hurdles to go over.
Considerable less hurdles to go through, mainly because they have a receptive political body that's willing to...
That wants to make moves.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, the next thing that you got to watch, Adrian Eckner, welcome to the show. Ray Cadell, thank you for sharing the broadcast. The next thing, and Mustache Dan Pettit, we'll get to your question. The next thing that you guys got to follow is this. You have an arms race going on between three municipalities. The three municipalities are the city of Charlottesville, Albemarle County, and the town of Scottsville. And the arms race is the first to market for the beer garden. I think Scottsville's going to be first to market, so does the distinguished gentleman. I think Charlottesville's going to be a close second. The interesting wrinkle from the last meeting was Cena McGill saying the beer garden should be everywhere in Charlottesville. Cena's brother is Laura Mendoza, one of the co-owners of Lampo.
Sure.
Lampo's in the X part.
Yes.
Okay, so just connecting the dots here
Sure.
is what we're doing here. The arms race is, if Scottsville comes to market, that's going to influence Charlottesville to open its beer garden somewhere, probably downtown first. Then Albemarle County is going to chase those tax dollars and say, hell, if Charlottesville's doing this, Albemarle County needs to do it somewhere.
Sure, you could do it at Stonefield.
Do it at Stonefield. You're going to have 3 of them come to market in less than a year. Mark it down. Mark it down.
Yeah, I'm not, just did, wrote it down. Yeah, but Scottsville's a lot easier to do. And it kind of does a version of this anyway, that's 4th of July, which is no alcohol involved in it, but it's kind of set up a little bit differently to go ahead and do that. And it has this, I don't know if you've ever been down there, but the little park over there where the bateaus are.
Yeah.
It's absolutely gorgeous. I mean, if you haven't been to Scottsville recently, take a ride down there, grab a beer, grab a burger, go sit at the river, or if you want to, grab a tube and do a little tubing. If you haven't done it at the James River from Scottsville, it's pretty neat afternoon to go ahead and do it. And the river's kind of up a little bit now because we have a little bit of rain here recently, so it's a lot of fun. So Dan had a question?
Yeah, modular homes coming back?
Yes.
You think so?
No, I know so. I've been reading, great question. I've been reading a ton of articles about that. Actually,
Jesse Rutherford's big in this space.
he's huge in this space, and it's coming back. And you know who's also getting huge into this space?
Who's that?
Our friend that owns Tesla, and our friend that
Elon Musk?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's actually getting big into this space, and they're looking at I was reading an article about it yesterday. A folding house that actually folds out and creates an ADU, and it's pretty cool. But auxiliary dwelling unit, but it's gonna have
This is the rebirth of the home sold in the Sears catalog.
That's exactly what it is. That's literally what it is.
Yeah.
But you'll see this out. I talk about out west all the time. It seems things tend to go from west to east in this field, even though there are a ton of modular homes or whatever housing, manufactured housing, whatever terminology you want to use on it. There's a particular company which I love out in Oregon, but in any event, that style of it is not quite migrated itself out this way. But
you really think that's going to catch on here?
Look, yes and no. The stick built is. I'm going to try not to geek out here. The struggle with modulars is you're dealing in boxes and squares. So my personal house is a custom modular. It's 8 boxes.
Yeah.
It's 8 boxes.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know it if I walked you in it. It cost more to build, but I was able to build it in 30 days, which cost of money was huge and time was huge. But it's, you work in these like Legos. If you play with Legos and your son plays with Legos, that's it. You're playing with these boxes. The designs have to catch up with the construction methods. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the construction method has not catch up with the design. So if you want a completely wide open 1,500 square foot footprint, it's pretty hard to do that structurally when you're building these boxes to go ahead and do it. But it's going to increase, and it's going to increase for 2 reasons. One is lack of labor.
Yeah.
Right? Cost of materials, they get built in a conditioned space. You get the time of putting a product in the ground I think, maybe I'm wrong, but if this trend continues, which we just agreed, at least I have, to myself, the skilled labor is going to take quite some time to put together.
For sure.
Materials prices will come down.
Yeah, well, wood has already come down.
That's exactly
Lumber's
right.
already come down.
That's exactly right. It's
Subcontractor cost of goods, though, is going up.
Is going
You don't have
up.
enough subs.
And so if you build something in a factory,
And we still don't know what's going to happen with gasoline.
well, I know what's happening. It's going to go up.
But if gas goes up at a rate that we're not comfortable with, that's going to impact everything. That's going to cause serious inflation to happen.
I think it's already happening, but
Yeah.
that's my personal opinion. So yeah, 100% right. So you were able to build it in a conditioned space. Your weather doesn't affect you. You can get your foundation done. But I've built several of these myself. It's a little difficult. Site prep is a little difficult. In the city environments are difficult. This is why this folding house concept that Musk is all over, you can get into tight spots. But if I'm going into Belmont and I've got to drop multiple boxes that are, 16 foot by 40 foot, just imagine booming that over utility lines, and it just becomes this huge struggle. So that's where it'll fall apart. As far as subdivisions go, we're talking Scottsville, the tire company. You can go ahead and build these apartment complexes like Legos. It's actually pretty cool, really, really cool. But I don't think it's ever going to change 100% of site built.
I don't think so either.
But I think you're going to see an uptick in it. I really do.
I think you may see an uptick in it with a tiny cottage or ADU. But I don't know. Time will tell you. That's your space.
Well, you need space is the word.
Yeah.
You need space to do this, right? In a congested city environment, it's really hard to do it. If I have a clean sheet of paper and I'm doing a development like that, and I can develop,
that's different.
It's a whole different animal. You can work from a clean piece of paper, but if I'm navigating all these utilities, that's super expensive.
You got Sean and Neil on Friday's show, don't you?
Yep.
Sean Tubbs and Neil Williamson.
We do. And we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about UVA housing and see wherever the conversation goes. I love those meetings. I love those conversations. We just have a ton of fun on it. So please check back in, tap into their brain. I'll bring a seatbelt, and we will do that.
Neil Williamson and Sean Tubbs on Friday on Real Talk. Real Talk presented by Yes Realty Partners. Wilson Ritchie killed it on the show. Restaurant owners that are watching, chefs, front of the house and back of the house that is watching now. We'll archive the show online or wherever you check your social media. Watch Wilson Ritchie, kind of crystal ball where the industry is going. We'll play 2 sizzle reels, which Judah's going to cut from today's show on the I Live Seville show, of Wilson talking about the beer garden and purchasing the building that Cafe Frank is in. I found both those comments very intriguing.
Very much so. That was... it was flattering and honoring to me anyway that he agreed to sit across the table from us and do this. There's a busy man doing some great work, and for him to take a half an hour or more than that out of his day to talk about his awesomeness is meant the world to me.
Absolutely. South Central, check them out. Dairy Market, Milkman's Bar, Dairy Market.
Cafe Frank,
Bebedero. He's got his hands in a lot of stuff. Wilson Ritchie does. Keith, welcome back.
Thank you. I'm actually didn't eat breakfast and my stomach is a little bit.
I hear it. It's gurgling.
I'm ready to get a little lunch.
There you go. Where are you going?
I'm going to do Cafe Frank on the walk back to the office.
Do you have a sandwich you recommend to anybody?
All of them are awesome.
Yeah.
But I'm a chicken salad. Most New Yorkers love chicken salad, right? And his chicken salad is off the charts. So I'm probably going to grab a chicken salad sandwich.
Chicken salad sandwich, Cafe Frank. Send us a picture.
Will do.
And we'll give them some props.
Thanks for seeing you, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for all you do.
Absolutely, our pleasure.
And happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Judah Wickauer. Good show, guys.
Who do you got on 12?
We have Mountain View parents. So Mountain View Elementary is going to stay at Mountain View, the 5th grade.
Ooh.
The 5th grade is going to stay at Mountain View, and we got the president of the PTO and her husband on the show.
Wow.
To talk about the negotiation between the Mountain View PTO, Albemarle County's superintendent office, and how housing density and increasing housing stock impacts educational infrastructure.
Sure.
On I Love Seville at 12:30.
Outstanding.
So it'll be breaking news. We'll be the first to report this, that Mountain View's 5th grade is staying in the elementary school at Mountain View. And we got a husband and wife from the PTO giving us the behind-the-scenes nitty-gritty and how this happened.
Outstanding. I will watch.
It's going to be a hot show. This program is presented by Yes Realty Partners. Check them out online, yesrealtypartners.com. Folks, trusted team. Yes Realty Partners, a team that will help you navigate the buying and selling process of any home or office space.
Or if you need a good place to eat, give us a call. We'll recommend a few places.
He knows them all. Keith Smith does. For Judah Wickauer, for Keith Smith, I am Jerry Miller, and this is Real Talk on a Tuesday. Take care.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, our pleasure. Good job, Judah.